Seven Nation Army couldn't hold me back.
Welcome to the Heat versus the World podcast.
Taking
And now,
behind my back.
stand up and make some noise for your host, Joel Jacob.
What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to another episode of the Heat vs. the World podcast. As always, I'm your host, Joel Jacob, and with me, I got Alex and Kay. And we got a great episode for you guys because we are coming off of another Heat win. And I believe, what are we right now, the 6th seed or the 5th seed? Because I know the standings are kind of like all over the place. By the way, Kay, you are on mute.
Oh, okay. I appreciate it. I thought I saw something a little higher than that, but let me check while you continue to get your spew on.
Because I know Orlando's the 4th seed. Everyone's been going crazy about that because apparently they're talking about Markelle Fultz called this a couple years ago. And, you know, they're all talking about how Paolo's been out here doing this thing, this and that. But that's for a regular NBA podcast, right? This ain't Magic versus the World. I know the Knicks are up there, too. I'm waiting for the Sixers to lose a few more games because they don't got Joel Embiid. But, it is what it is. But aside from that, the Heat are still racking up dubs. So here we are right now, another great episode, despite hearing a couple news here and there that we will talk about later on. But overall, man, I'm feeling good because, I know we played the Pistons yesterday, but, bro, we went in there and we handled business the way we were supposed to. And there was a lot of things that happened this game. I mean, I know one thing a lot of people have been talking about is the way how Duncan played because the dude looked nasty. And y'all know what I'm talking about most likely. That one filthy highlight he had early in the game. I really wish I had the clip with me, but y'all probably seen it by now, and y'all know what I'm talking about. The dude looked
just
nasty.
to chime in. That's the one where he did the Smitty behind his back on the baseline against the Thompson twin that plays for the Pistons. And since I chimed in, the Miami Heat currently sit 35-26, which is good enough for 6th place in the Eastern Conference. Sort of kind of theoretically tied with the Sixers, unless you want to conclude the fact that we got tiebreakers over them. I'm assuming that's why we sit at 6th. But the tricky thing about it with the Magic and the Knicks sitting at 36 and 26, occupying the 4th and 5th space, that apparently means they've played a game more than us. No, not sure if we have the Magic on our schedule, but if we do, we'll beat them and just make up for that game. But with the Knicks banged up, they're surely going to slide. So let them keep popping that as we continue to talk about Detroit because that game don't mean nothing. Go ahead.
So let's see. I know the Heat. I think the series against Orlando might be done. I think we won.
Yeah, we're done with Orlando.
Yeah,
Okay.
3-1. We finished that series. New York. Okay. I think we played them like in April, I believe. Am I right?
April 2nd.
All right.
Okay.
So
you got the schedule pulled up already?
Okay.
Okay, for sure.
We played Cleveland twice, by the way, if anyone's interested on the possibility.
Well, hell with it. We got Detroit on back-to-backs on the 15th and the 17th. So there go 2 wins right there. They ain't going to be pretty, but there go 2 wins. All right, that's settled.
Yep. So overall, man, it's overall looking really good for the Heat right now. I really want to see this team potentially get the 3 seed because, shoot, could you imagine the idea of playing a team like, I don't know who specifically, who y'all think would fall to the 6 seed if we get that 3 seed? It would be, let's see, probably Philadelphia, is it? Or I don't know.
I was looking at it. Are we looking at this scenario? And let's not get too far away from the Detroit game because I did throw you off, but I can use that. I'll use a segue back there. But are we looking at Joel Embiid coming back for the Sixers team at all? I mean, I know that's what the reports are, but are we analyzing it from that perspective?
I see. I don't even know when he's trying to come back though. So it's like I'm not.
You would imagine just common sense, right? Basketball sense, especially with what we all know about the NBA. He's not going to come back, you know what I mean, to want to play in game 1 of the playoffs. He's going to want to get his feet wet, get 6 or 7 games. And will that 6 or 7 games be important, or will they matter enough for, will the Sixers hang close enough to that 6 seed where they're still able to secure that 6 seed? Because they're within a couple of games, bringing Joel Embiid back, and if he's able to give you 75% of what he was able to give you before he left, and you don't bring him back unless he's definitely able to give you 75% or more. Am I wrong? Can y'all give me a quick agree or disagree there?
I agree.
Okay. I mean, I wouldn't bring him back at all. But if you're going to bring him back, if you're the Sixers, you're going to make that choice, just for clarity, then you want him to at least be able to give you 75%. And I think that's good enough to get those games. So I see the Sixers fully being in that 6 seed, unless we're looking at a situation now where the Knicks totally bottom out. And they're sitting 6th or 7th, and the Sixers find a way to climb higher. Because I'm gonna be honest, I don't believe in the Magic.
Mm-hmm. I don't either, man. Like, that's why that 4 or 5 spot, if they stay in there, might be attractive. I just want to wait until the conference finals to play Boston. And I know I shouldn't care about standings with this Heat team, but it's like, I don't know, if we could just wait until the conference finals, let Boston deal with whoever first, and then wait until the very last second to fight them. That's what I would be down for. You know what I'm saying? But at this point, like, I do respect the fact that the Heat don't care who they got to play. They always have that line them up type of mentality where you could put them up against the 95, 96 Bulls in the first round, and they would be down for it. So,
okay, all right. I just want to make sure your terminology is correct, because I wouldn't be confident, but they would definitely be down for it. Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
50%. Jimmy, that crazy.
Yeah. So, I mean, really, it comes down to, I guess, how things just is going to align for the squad, because really it's looking like we either go against Milwaukee, Cleveland, either or in that order, and then you face most likely Boston in the conference finals, or you're in a scenario where you play Orlando or whoever else finishes as the 4 or 5 seed, and then you go up against Boston, and then maybe a team like Milwaukee or whoever can make it to the conference finals and go from there. It's just an interesting type of scenario, to say the least. But just so we don't get too off topic, we still got some games to win before we can decide where we look in the standings. So this game against Detroit, while it was kind of a pointless game because we knew that the Heat had this in the bag, Fontecchio, whoever that other dude was, call me casual, whatever, but that dude was about to piss me off, because I remember those games against Utah, bro. Like, that dude will literally turn into Dirk Nowitzki against Miami, and it pisses me off, bro.
Oh, this
Like,
isn't his first time burning as bad.
yeah. So I'm just saying, like, we overcame this random scrub Heat killer game from him. So that alone makes me feel good. I don't care if it was against the Pistons. We were able to take care of a random scrub Heat killer like Fontecchio, which is good for us. So in my opinion, that just further strengthens the argument of why the Heat are going to win the championship, because they were able to do what they did last night. And then you also got to acknowledge the fact that Jimmy went off, especially in that fourth quarter. And I got to say this, he hit that dagger late in the game, and anytime he hits and makes a shot from that same exact spot that he attempted that 3 against Boston a couple seasons ago, I always feel the need to acknowledge it, because it's always like he's wants us to know that he's not missing that shot if he's ever put in that situation again. So for him to shoot it in almost that exact same location and hit it, I always got to acknowledge it, because he's always going to try to remind us that he's going to be, if he's going to be in that exact same situation, he's always going to make it that next time, But overall, it was a great win for the Heat. We talked about Duncan being Duncan and all that. And I just want to know from you guys, how are we feeling about this win? We'll start off with you, Alex.
Thought it was a solid win. Obviously, the Heat played the Pistons first game of the season this past year, and it got kind of dicey. So it wasn't that game, but we definitely was able to take care of business. I mean, for most of the game, it looked like Jimmy was just sleepwalking. Bam was having some trouble with Jalen Duren inside. What I think by halftime, Bam was like 3 of 10, but Duncan was hitting shots. Jaime played all right. Caleb Martin played all right. And then Jimmy put on the Superman cape for basically 5 minutes in the fourth quarter and sealed the game, and it was over. So, I mean, I didn't have any stress about it. I figured and I felt we was going to win the whole time. But Jimmy just wanted to wait and chill, I guess.
Right. And I want to pass the mic to you, Kay. How was you feeling about this game?
I mean, listen, I'm gonna be completely honest with you. I have this thing about the Miami Heat, and people look at me like I'm nuts when I say it. Um, it's sort of Dallas Cowboys fan. It's sort of Dallas Cowboys, and I'm a Dallas Cowboys fan, as everybody know by the cups that I drink out of when every time we record. But when you play the Dallas Cowboys as a football team in the NFL, you bring everything you got because you want to beat that team. Whatever that reason may be, I'm not saying those reasons are the same, but there's something about the Miami Heat. If it's because they have to hear literally every time they're going up against the Miami Heat, everybody on their coaching staff or all of their vets say, look, you know this team gonna play hard. You know they're gonna be, whether it's that, whether it's the Miami Heat's tendency to be one of the better teams in the league consistently, whether it's being coached by top 15, whether it's that Jimmy gonna go hard when he need to, and can be abrasive in his body language and his literal language. Whether it's the fact that you're gonna get everybody everything, I don't know. But teams come to play when they play the Miami Heat. Because the Miami Heat didn't necessarily play bad last night. Let's look at it that way. They didn't necessarily play bad. They weren't great, but they didn't necessarily play bad. You just look at it like a Detroit Pistons team doing what every other team does. Like, again, you mentioned Fontecchio. I mean, I don't want to go back or step on toes in case we haven't talked about the Jazz. I don't know if we want to cover that, but you even look at it like a team like the Utah Jazz, like, they've been getting beat up on, and they came in and played some of the best ball they had played in the last couple of games. So, I mean, it's just that thing about the Miami Heat where teams are going to give you their all. So I didn't know it was going to be a scrappy to the end game, though it didn't surprise me. But I expect the Miami Heat to come out with a win because, as E. Reed indicated earlier, it was somebody. I'm sorry, not E. Reed. It was Coop on Twitter, Coop Moorhead, of course, Miami Heat content guy. He basically said, you notice Jimmy taking a lot more chances as far as getting the passing lanes because with that Detroit Pistons offense, you didn't necessarily have to worry about them burning you. And I think that, you had a lot of that going on early until they decided to lock in and tighten things up. And that's when, things got tricky for the Pistons. And then, of course, shot making helps. Terry Rozier hit a couple big shots in the third, his time to shine, which is what he seems to do. But other than that, Miami Heat doing what the Miami Heat do. This happens in long NBA season, bro.
Right. So overall, man, it was just a great game for the Heat. And, I do want to touch on something real quick because, it seems like while we were able to have a great win yet again, we're coming off of this win. And as you mentioned, Kate, that win against Utah. We also did have some bitter news with the recent news yesterday that after the game that Josh Richardson is going to miss the remainder of the season. And, obviously this does suck for the Heat. And there was speculation as to why we then went and signed, well, before the news came out, why we brought in a guy like Patty Mills. So when this news came out, immediately made sense. And we will talk about that Patty Mills signing real soon. But before we get into that, I just want to know how you guys feel about this J. Rich news and how y'all think it impacts the Heat moving forward. We'll start off with you, Kay.
As I have been discussing on this show and the Best Game Breakdown over the last couple of weeks before the injury, even, leading up to I guess for the last month or so, because, people have really been on Jay Rich for what he's brought to the team defensively and offensively, but you had to give him chance not only to, and of course they're 40 games in, so you would say about, game 25, 30 is when it really started to click for him, but you also got to consider he was out early on with injury, so that even added on to that total. As far as 25, 30. But once he started to find it, not only, was he wasn't necessarily the point of attack defender that everybody wanted him to be, but he was still a very, very, I would say, adequate, very good, actually. I'm going to go there. I'm a very good team defender, an individual defender along the wings and in the areas where he had actually excelled in his previous time with Miami. If you look at that team or iteration of the team, I think they counted on Justice Winslow to be more of that out front point of attack guy at times. And I'm not saying that worked. I'm just saying Jay Rich wasn't that during his initial thing. But even more so than that, just his ability to hit shots, to create offense for others, to get to his spots, get to that mid-range and pull up for that little midi. He was starting to do that at a very high rate. I mean, just adding to the depth and creating more havoc for this Miami Heat team, being a long, lengthy combo guard type guy that Spo could throw out there. I mean, we're talking about Psycho Spo here, the mad scientist. So the more tools and the more chemicals he has to work with in the lab, then the better the concoction it is, or the more lethal the concoction it is, for lack of better terms, that he can create. And it just hurts because that was one of your more, for lack of better terms, since I'm talking about some science, one of your more volatile substances. Like, you could put that in and it could freeze the potion, or you could put it in and it could totally explode. I mean, you never know. And I think that offers you some versatility when you're looking at Jay Rich, because if you think about Patty Mills, not to step on our toes, because I know we're going to get there, he offers you more shooting at a premium, some explosive offense, for 9 or 10 minutes, which I fully expect him to be able to give you. But with his size and just his natural lack of defensive ability, you lose something there. If you look at DeLon Wright, you're looking at a guy with size and a guy that can come in and defend and handle the rock for you, make a couple plays, but he isn't quite the shooter or offensive guy that Jay Rich is from a, literal wiggle, offensively speaking, and basketball perspective. So I feel like you got two guys that can offer you something that Jay Rich offered you on either side, but you don't have Jay Rich, who brought the best of both of those worlds, though maybe not as elusively as either in that particular area. That multiplicity, that multipleness is what separates Miami Heat guys, Miami Heat teams, and that's why Spo always preach it.
Right. Alex, how about you?
As I said, basically in the chat yesterday, once it was announced that we were signing Patty Mills, a lot of Heat Nation was somewhat up in arms, and everybody was in shock. And I basically let it known about how I felt about Jay Rich's injury and that surgery could be inbound. So it wasn't surprising seeing that Jay Rich ended up having to have surgery. That all being said, kind of sort of just going off of what Kay said, Jay Rich is basically DeLon and Patty Mills put together. Not as good as a shooter as Patty, but like what Jay Rich brings is basically just divided up between two people now in regards to having those two guys on the roster. I was just, while Kay was talking, I was looking up Jay Rich's stats. He was averaging just under 10 points a game, 3 rebounds, and almost 2.5 assists. So those are pretty good numbers coming off the bench, playing around like 20 or so minutes a game. And so we're going to lose something with that. But with how guys have been stepping up lately, like Caleb finding his shot, if you guys haven't noticed, like it looks like he had a hitch in his shot, and now it's like the hitch is gone. It's still a straight line, but the hitch that he used to have is gone. And so he's been shooting it a lot more consistently lately, which I like. So that's going to help out with some of the shooting that's going to be missing with Jay Rich. Obviously, Duncan's been hitting. Jaime, he done lost his jump shot from the three-point line, but he's obviously still giving us everything he's given us in regards to at the basket in the mid-range area. So we're just going to have guys step up and bring as a collective what Jay Rich was bringing as one person.
Right. And Kay, you had something you wanted to add?
Yeah, just to Alex's point. No, he's exactly right. But that's something that I've been pointing out for 3 years. With Caleb specifically. Follow my Twitter, by the way, guys, and you would have seen that 3 years ago. Not to you, Alex. I'm just bigging up your point by saying, yeah, it's exactly that. When he shoots with that hitch, he's not shooting at the top of his jump. So think about when you let your jump shot go and you have to overcorrect or undercorrect and use too much wrist, arms, for lack of better terms. You know what I mean? However you getting it off, whether it's arms or whether it's more wrist to compensate. Well, when you release it at the top of your jump, you're powering that shot with your full body or with your legs. You know what I mean? With your velocity up. And with Caleb, whenever he's releasing that jump shot at the top of his jump or as close to the top of his jump as he can, he's hit that jump shot. And it's been that way for 3 years. And I've literally noted that same thing. So no, that's exactly what it is. But I would also add that along with the jump shot, you're also seeing the other explosive stuff come back. So it's kind of that same thing that I saw, that I noted with Jay Rich. It's like we had to allow these guys time not only to do what every healthy NBA player does at the beginning of the season, which is, work themselves back into shape, but especially when we're talking about two guys who play the way they play, Jay Rich more so laterally, and explosive and wiggly that way. And, Caleb more so vertically and explosively, but still the same toll on your body and your joints and how you're able to do it. We had to allow them the leeway to just get back to one, being themselves, and two, all while being healthy. And I think we're seeing we were seeing the remnants of that with Jay Rich. Still hurt me a little bit because I like Jay Rich, but we're also seeing, that product present itself on the floor with Caleb. Because I mean, last night against the Pistons, of course, as we've noted several times, coming to you on a Wednesday afternoon, he was on fire for a minute. Like I was like, shoot it. Every time he got it, shoot it, let it go, let that thing go. I mean, he was like that. So, it's a good thing, man. It's a good thing. Caleb, one of those guys, when he get hurt, he go on like a little tear or something. Like every time something happened to him and he played, like when he came back with the spring thumb, he went nuts in the game after spring thumb. Okay, when you get 6 stitches in your lip and it do happen the way it happened, I'm prone to think that teeth went through lips, and I don't even want to think about that. Is that what y'all thinking?
Probably, yeah.
Anyway, long story short, but man got, it's the man, you know what I'm saying? The man got a hole in his lip, like he got a Dennis Rodman, like, man-made. And he came out and just was like, I don't like none of y'all tonight. So I mean, I like the way he's playing, man. That depth, but that's why that's been key, and we talked about it all year long. The Miami Heat depth is something else, and as long as they can continue to step up in big moments, it's gonna be a problem for whoever step out there, especially to a Celtics team that gave up 20 to Dean Wade. My bad, I couldn't help myself.
Oh my gosh, bro. The Celtics on serious for that. I mean, at least they keeping up the reputation of getting owned by someone named D Wade. So, at least someone carrying the torch for Dwayne himself. So.
You stole that ball. You got to shout it out. You stole that ball. You stole that ball. You got to shout it out. Come on now.
Yeah,
Come on now. You know I'm a lyricist. You know I'm a lyricist. You know I don't play that. You stole that ball.
Listen, shout outs. I don't know, because I've been seeing it all over the TL, so I had to mention it the one time, bro. So, overall, bro, like one thing I will say about Jay Rich before we wrap it up, I do know, and this was what some people mentioned because of the way how our rotation was looking. A guy like Jay Rich was probably going to be in a role where he might not be a consistent person you can rely on to get minutes, but he would be the type of guy that you was going to rely on to come in at certain situations. Like, did y'all see that too, or was that like nah? Or did y'all like see it different? Because you had other guys in this team, whether if it was a guy like DeLon or whoever, and from the way how it looked, he was kind of in a situation like a Haywood Highsmith, where every now and then, you were going to see him take the floor whenever the time seemed right, basically the way how it sounds. We'll start off with you, Alex. What was your thoughts on that?
Kind of sort of got to the point where we had an embarrassment of riches in regards to how many wings we have, where we can obviously all of them do certain things similar, and some of them do certain things different, but they all occupy the same spaces. So with that being said, like now that Jay Rich is gone, and like I said, what he does is basically split up between DeLon and Patty. Now it kind of sort of gives Spo a little bit more clarity in regards to what he's looking for, because of the fact that I feel like, as we can see, DeLon played what, like 2 games so far. Patty is just getting to the team right now. So I really don't see Spo really letting those guys play a whole lot. I see him doing certain what he's been doing. Obviously, I mean, Tyler has to come back, but we'll deal with that when we deal with that. But yeah, like I really do feel like now that gives, I guess, Caleb a little bit more leeway to get some of his stuff off, or Jaime, or Highsmith. But I feel like that, like I said, man, DeLon and Patty, they're kind of sort of break glass in case of emergency guys now that basically Jay Rich is gone and we dealing with it how we dealing with it.
How about you, kid?
So there were a couple of things I want to touch on, and like I usually say a lot, y'all know this, so I just be trying to get it out before I forget it, or not get to a point that like I'd be mad I didn't get to later. You mentioned some, Joel, first of all, when you mentioned Haywood Highsmith, and I smile right there because like that's exactly the point I was gonna make. When you look at a guy like Jay Rich and a guy like Haywood Highsmith, more so Jay Rich, of course, and it speaks to the point we've been talking about him most of the episode, and you actually hit on it again, Alex, again, that multipleness. They're guys that if you're Spo, you can put them in there with any lineup and they bring it together because they can do a lot of everything. They latch the lineups together. Like you can put them in there with mostly anybody and it fit. Like, all right, you go be the 2. Nah, you go be the 3. All right, now you go be the 1. You know what I'm saying? Well, hey, with Highsmith, when you look at him, you go be the 3. Now you go play the 2 for a couple minutes. Nah, go be the 4. Like, you know what I'm saying? It worked for a couple. Like, it just, those are guys that you can latch lineups together and sneak minutes by before you get your main guys back in there, of course, to create your ultimate starting lineup, whatever. But to that point, I don't know if that's going to, and I also nodded a little bit when you mentioned this point, by it's going to simplify it so much for Spo. I don't know. I don't know if that's going to make him lean. I mean, it's Spo, so I'm not going to question his coaching or his ability or whatever like that, because of course he's going to do what he thinks works best. But I just don't want him to get into a situation where he's forced to lean more one way than another. I think that you just have to be very careful about how you're distributing the minutes from minute to minute. But you're gonna have to use DeLon and Patty at some point. But there might be a situation where you don't. You know what the alternate situation is? That's Nikola Jovic consistently getting 25 minutes or so, because he's also, I guess, becoming one of those linchpin guys where if you can trust him to hold his own physically on both sides of the ball, and if he's gonna attack like he did a couple of times in Detroit, I've seen him flash in that area several times. Like that's the next step. Like once he attack and use that size and athleticism like he want to end people, I think he can also help. And maybe you're right as far as using those 2 guys just as break glass in case of emergency. So that's my whole take on that situation.
Right. So overall, Jay Rich, if you're seeing this, we just want to know, we hope you get better soon, bro. And hopefully we'll get to see you back again next year. So don't opt out just yet, bro. Hopefully, this is just, the start of something. Well, I can't even say something new because you've been on the Heat before. So, something new during the second stint with the Heat,
Man,
So,
just be here. Like, what you mean? Just be here. Be in Miami. Like, what's up? Like, be playing, brother.
exactly. You'll be missed. And it will be interesting to see what Spo does, as we've mentioned. That's why, I was a little worried about how this team would look with Jay Rich out the lineup. But in Spo, we trust. We talked about our depth multiple times in the past. And, obviously, while a guy like Jay Rich, as you mentioned, K provided so much for the squad, being able to do stuff that you kind of saw guys like a Darrell Wright could do only one part of, or a guy like a Patty Mills do one part of. You kind of had both of that. Oh, well, kind of, yeah, both of that put into
DeLon, right, by the way. I wanted to give you a moment to chime in, but yeah, people been calling that man his brother for 3 weeks now. DeLon. No, I'm joking, brother.
But yeah, man, I mean, so it's gonna be interesting to see what Spo does. And listen, man, we still gonna win the championship, all right? So Jay Rich, be ready to collect your ring, bro, and we gonna be good to go. So legit, we just gotta let Spo cook, because we do still have enough games to let things play out. So hopefully we'll be able to see how Spo's gonna be able to run certain things by then. So there's that. But overall, man, like, this is going to be interesting, especially now that you got Patty Mills on this team. We will see if he gets minutes in this upcoming game against Dallas, and we will talk about that very soon. But before we get into that game against Dallas, I do want to talk about Patty Mills for a quick second. I'm going to give you guys 1 minute each before we dive into our following topic. What do you guys think Patty Mills could provide for the Miami Heat? We'll start off with you, Alex. 1 minute.
All right, put me up against the clock. So Patty is like a 38% 3-point shooter for his career, something around that. So obviously it gives you a bunch of shot making. I was talking to some of my boys yesterday about the signing, and I was like, Patty's one of those guys where, like I said, break glass in case of emergency, something stagnant, we not hitting shots. You throw Patty out there for basically 3 to 4 minutes. Next thing you know, he 3 for 4 from three, then ignited the crowd. We back in the game. Boom, thank you, Patty. Go sit your tail down. So
Exactly.
I'm excited for him coming in, being able to be a pest on defense and make shots on offense. Small
Perfect.
pest. He used to be a pest.
Right. And how about you, kid?
Hey, look, man. If you want contention, you gotta put me on the show with Deem and George, honestly, because I agree with everything that Alex said. Of course, to expand on it, well, I'm gonna contest you a little bit here, Alex, and I say this because this is the point I've been making when I'm making my little, you know what I mean. He's actually a 38.9% 3-point shooter career, which is 39%. So when I'm making my points, I say a 40. I say a 40% career 3-point shooter. You see what I'm saying? You see how I did that? Anyway, but basically to build on that point, like you said, bro, a 40% 3-point shooter. And when you think about a Miami Heat team, and I've always mentioned this for the last couple of years, especially since I've been on this network, just speaking to, these peoples, but of course on previous platforms, or that was when I was writing or just on my own personal, like this Miami Heat's biggest problem is always going into lulls at inopportune times, whether that's for crucial possessions, whether that's for remember the third quarter, like they've sort of fixed that now though, which I like that, of course. But why wouldn't I like that? But just like not being able to produce. And to your exact point, Alex, I swiffle cheese. Like that's something that I said yesterday several times. It's like, what's the best thing for a team that can go on lows or offensive, and just go into offensive ineptitude at the poorest times, and especially when it depends so much on shooting. Bringing a 40% 3-point shooter who's known to be able to come in and do exactly what you said, hit 3, 4, 5 shots in a short amount of time. And I mean, if you're giving him 9, 10, 12 minutes, 15 minutes max, I think he could do just that for you and still be that pest on defense, because coming from that Spurs culture where all of that was instilled in him, we're going to do it just like we did with K-Love. We're going to bring the best of whatever he got left. And of course, in those short bursts, again, like K-Love, I think we'll be able to get that out of him. I think he's going to help a ton. And I think that's what his role is going to be. Come in, nail some shots. Like when you get it, let it go. Let that, and I don't mean pass it. I mean towards the rim. Get you a Tyler Herro assist to the goal.
Right. And I mean, you mentioned a good point when you brought up Kevin Love, because it was Kevin who actually mentioned, they asked him this during shoot around yesterday, I believe, how did he feel about this type of signing? And he said, if there's any team that can bring the best out of, old guys, it's the Miami Heat. So, he couldn't have said it any better than that. And, I'm going to say this because I do want to get into this next topic. Patty Mills, you owe us a ring for 2014, so we're expecting you to come in here and help us win a championship. All right, everyone in here talking about how they got PTSD of what you did that year, and you gonna make it up for us by getting Jimmy his ring, no questions asked. Okay, because you ended one dynasty back in 2014, but you're gonna you know what, because I don't know how much years we got left of Jimmy's window, but you're gonna at least help somewhat start a dynasty we got going on here and help Jimmy get his ring that he deserves. All of that said, welcome to Miami, Patty Mills, and let's keep the show going because I do want to get into
the boy went 88. I'm sorry, the boys went 88. We got to say that the boy went 88.
Bro, like I saw the number. He's the first player to wear number 88 too, by the way. So that's kind of interesting.
He got his sports confused, apparently. He think he's gonna run a post route. Like, nah, brother, you running flare screens and off of actions and wiggles and everything like that. Like, we ain't doing no hitches out here. Anyway, sorry.
I just looked because I got his basketball reference page pulled up. So he's worn number 8 everywhere he's been in his career. Obviously, Jamal Cain has number 8. I didn't even realize that he wore number 8 everywhere he's been. And I didn't remember until literally just now that Jamal Cain has number 8 for the Heat. So I guess it was one of those situations where he was like, all right, I'm not about to pay this dude however much I would have to pay him for 20 games in a playoff run to wear number 8. I'm going to just add another 8.
And even if you didn't want to pay us, it don't matter because you costed us a ring. So until you get it back, we're not giving you number 8 at any point. All right. Win us the championship and we can talk about it in the contract negotiation in the offseason. Aside from that, you're not getting the number 8, bro. We kept that number hostage until you.
You gotta cue up the Draymond meme for the Draymond video for Joe. You ain't Kobe? No.
Okay, Jamal Cain is still gonna wear the number 8 whether you like it or not, bro. Okay, because he didn't cost us a championship. Jamal Cain didn't shoot 53s in 2014 and costed us a championship. So you gotta earn that number first, bro. I don't know.
What else we talking about, Joe? Let's breathe.
All right, man. Anyways, but yeah, welcome, Patty Mills. Go get Jimmy his championship now. Next topic. Let's get into something that's I've been seeing a lot of discourse on TL about this. And it's about Tyler Herro, right? And I'm not gonna get into this starting stuff because if y'all have watched any of our pods, y'all know exactly where we stood on this. I've gotten to a point where I've tried to avoid.
I haven't watched any of our pods. Where do we stand on this? I'm sorry, Alex. Do you have an opinion? I don't know where we like Joe. What? How do you? I don't know. I haven't watched any shows. I'm sorry. I don't know.
So previously on Heat versus the World, what happened was I said I just simply don't want Tyler to start because it just doesn't fit the team. Not because he's a bum like some people want to make it seem like it sound like, but it's just better for the team because him and Jimmy operate the same space. Basically what we've been talking about for so long now, but anyways, it's now gotten to another part where it's not even about team chemistry, but instead a lot of people are kind of concerned because in case y'all ain't heard the injury report by now, this dude Tyler is going to be out for these next 2 games, it looks like, of this road trip against Dallas and OKC. Kevin Love is going to miss it too, but he's old. This is expected. Tyler, on the other hand, is like about a decade younger than Kevin Love. And he out here missing these games.
Closer to a decade and a half, probably.
Yup. So this kind of guy.
Ain't Kevin Love 38? I'm sorry, not to keep breaking up, but ain't Kevin Love like 38?
I think he only 36, actually.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna have to check that out. I'm sorry. I thought he was LeBron.
Kevin Love is 35, turns 36 in September.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, only a decade. Well, you know what? Kevin Love ain't as old as we make him out to be. I guess he just looked like somebody granddad or great uncle. I'm sorry.
All that gray hair.
Yeah, man. If he probably dyed his hair a little bit, we probably wouldn't tell. But back to the topic.
Got a little Jason Kelsey thing going on up in there, like.
But overall, bro, it's like everyone's kind of concerned about his health, and Duncan has been playing great. We talked about that when we were talking about this Detroit game. And it got to a point where, Barry Jackson, if you're a Heat fan, y'all know who he is. He went out.
I'm sorry, Joe, did you want to show that Duncan Robinson clip just to highlight, how well Duncan's been playing in his absence? I mean, I'm just asking. You don't have to, but you can if you. Huh?
I don't got it on me right now, bro.
Oh, you don't have the video on you?
No.
Oh, wow. You don't have the video on you. Well, if you will check out your administrative situation there, it may be some way to share that video.
All right, there we go.
Oh, wow. Now, Joe believes.
Of a Min Thompson. What a move! Oh, Duncan Robinson.
We'll run it back one more time for you guys. We'll run it back one more time. Let's check it.
Thompson, twin brother of a Min Thompson.
Oh, baby. Hot sizzle.
Duncan
Robinson, everybody. Okay, continue, Joe. I just had to show the people. I'm sorry.
Nasty, man. Duncan, bro. Starter Duncan, bro. We've been preaching for this for so long now. And you know what? It might have took Tyler to get injured just for us to see this, but we got starter Duncan, and this is what we getting, man. Let's just, get the screen back to normal real quick. All right, there we go. Overall, bro, like, this team just fits better when you got a guy like Duncan as your starting shooting guard. And, some people are asking this question, why can't we have Duncan be our starting shooting guard? If Tyler was an all NBA type player or an all-star, then maybe we can have this debate that, he should be a starter regardless of the fit. But that's not the case right now. We're not in that type of situation. The thing is that this team fits better with Duncan in the starting lineup, and this team just has great history when Tyler is coming off the bench. And what really irked people was that you then had what Barry had to say when people was asking him this, and it's that you want to spare a guy like what's it called? A guy like Tyler's what's it called? Emotions or whatever. I don't know the exact words he used, but basically, you know, you want to spare him his feelings, whatever, and that pissed a lot of people off. And I mean, I already kind of knew this. We all kind of had a feeling that was the case because Eric Spoelstra is a bright coach. Like, we know this by now. And if he's not able to go out there and make this move to just simply swap Tyler for Duncan in that starting lineup, you know, that kind of tells you where he stands. Because anyone with eyes can see what's going on. There's that one viral clip where Spo went nuts when Hero took that one difficult shot and he bricked it. You know, when you look at that play, just him alone, you would think they made a bad call or something, but no, there was no bad call or nothing. The dude was just pissed at the shot Tyler took. All right, that's what happened. And you know what? I ain't gonna hate on Tyler. That's not the purpose of all this. But it goes back into a serious discussion where we're still, you know, in a scenario where now even more Heat fans are calling for it, and that's put Tyler on the bench, especially because this dude has only played 36 games this year. We've played 61 so far. That means he's played a total of less than 60% of the games we've had this year. Is that not insane to think about? Like, overall, man, I want to know how y'all think about this situation. I mean, we know where y'all stand about Tyler and whether or not he should be in the starting lineup, but how do y'all see this developing, especially as Tyler continues to miss more games? We'll start off with you, Alex.
It's crazy. I got Tyler's basketball reference page up, and it's literally right there. Like when you said 36 games, I was in shock. But I mean, that's the true number. And obviously, I've let my position on this be known plenty of times. Feel like it would fit better for the team for him coming off the bench. Obviously, in 2000, the 22 season, he won Sixth Man of the Year. So that meant, dog, you were the best guy coming off the bench in the league, averaging 20 points, averaging 20 a game coming off the bench, being able to eat versus teams' second units, and then find your rhythm, and then handle your business when it came down to the stretch run. Now you're in a rhythm because you played well against backups, and now you're out there against the starters, and you have a little bit more of a rhythm. But yeah, like the sparing his emotions type thing, like, dog, you making 25, 27 mil. What we spare your emotions for, man? Like, hey, you 24 years old, millionaire, dog, ain't nobody trying to spare your emotions. If it's what's best for the team, then that should be what it is. But I mean, I totally understand. Like for him, he's looking at it as not being put into a box as this guy is Sixth Man of the Year, Lou Will type, where because Lou Will has said at a certain point he felt like, dad, like I got put into this box, but you know what? I'm gonna just own the box. Like I'm gonna just be the greatest sixth man I can be. And Tyler doesn't have that thought. Tyler wants to be Trae Young, Luka in those conversations, which we know how that goes. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting when he comes back, but we'll deal with that when we get to it. We already know Duncan going back to the bench, and it's gonna be what it is.
I mean, I'll say this, bro. I mean, I said this when we did the live stream for this game breakdown after that Celtics game. Heat culture is about sacrifice, bro. That's a part of it. And if you're not able to simply give up your starting spot, because mind you, you're still gonna play the same minutes as before. If like the only thing that's going to change is that your name is just not gonna be featured in that starting five graphic that the Heat put up before every game. That's it. You're still going to play the same minutes. You'll still have the opportunity to close games. Like, nothing changes. Like, that's the thing that's so, like, puzzling about this whole situation. And it goes back to what I said before, where we kind of need to break the stigma regarding this idea that if you're not a starter, if you gotta be placed on the bench, like it's a terrible thing. It means you're bummed out. It doesn't. You just, for the sake of this team, you fit better off there. And once Jimmy has the opportunity to walk off into the sunset, the floor is all yours, assuming we haven't shipped you off to Cleveland yet. But that's for another convo. Okay, how about you though?
I don't know if I'm like prepared to speak after you just talked about shipping a man out to Cleveland, but I mean, look, it's pretty simple, man. You know how I feel about it. I just feel like, they maybe even that it was shocking, first of all, to hear he's only played 36 games. Like, that's shocking. I'd be interested to see how many games he's played total. And I could just go to his basketball reference page too, but I'd be interested to see how many games total he's played over the last 2 or 3 seasons. But perhaps coming off the bench, I'd be interested to see how many games he's played relative to coming off the bench as opposed to as a starter, because maybe that could help preserve his body a little bit too.
I don't know the exact number, but I did see this a little while ago. He actually has a bad record. It's like a barely above 500, I think, his record as a starter compared to his when he's coming off the bench. Like, that's like a very good stat right there. But if you look at his win-loss record when he's come in the starting lineup, last time I checked, it was like below 500. But I think we were able to get a few wins to the point where I think it's kind of above 500 now. But it's not, the percentage is nowhere near as good as what you see compared to when he's coming off of the bench for us.
I mean, like as it's been said multiple times, especially on this episode alone, it's no secret about how I feel about the situation. And I just feel like I mean, I don't know, man. I'm a credit guy, I guess I am, but I'm not a huge credit, because I feel like if I keep banging and keep saying quality stuff, eventually it'll get heard. But it just frustrates me that now everybody and everything is leaning in that direction when it's been clear as day for so long. Like, it's about the team. It's about what Duncan does for everybody else. Tyler can go out there and get you buckets. And it might take him a lot of shots to do that on some nights. But what he does for himself isn't more valuable for what Duncan could do for everybody else in the starting lineup. And that's plain and simple. Like, I mean, when you're fighting or struggling with yourself, I mean, to go against that or to do something else, it just seems like, there's another agenda at play, and I don't understand what it is. So if we being frank, the only thing I can see is, playing him as a 6-man or continuing to showcase him until it matters the most, and then using that to try to flip him for something. I mean, I'm just trying to figure out, because I mean, you have to believe the Spo and Pat Riley, the great Pat Riley, don't care about, how we feel. I mean, not that they don't care, but like, if it's best for the team, you know what I'm saying? Like, I just struggle to see them having, like, having the time or the gives. Bleep me out at that part. Put a curse monitor at this particular point about Tyler Herro, when it's clear that the team works a little better when Duncan Robinson is out there with their main guys. Again, as I've said many times, I have nothing against Tyler. I don't necessarily want the boy to get traded. I like his game. I like when he hitting shots. I just think he could be more successful for this particular version of the Miami Heat team doing that from the second unit. So that's just, again, for the millionth time, how I feel about the situation. And as you said, Joel, which we always love to see, is a point get proven. And though it happened at the expense of Tyler getting injured, it's just been another case of showing everybody what should be happening. You should just be bringing Tyler back to be that extra firepower, because this is the way.
Exactly. But, like I said before, we're just going to end it right there, because we've talked about this for so long, man. And, like, it's getting to a point where the dude has only played 36 games this year, which is insane to think about. And if
he just continued to insult him and highlight how many games he played after he said, we're just going to end it right there. Go ahead, though, Joe. Do your thing, Woody.
If he's still in the starting lineup, even after everything that's went on, like, you can't say nothing more to it, because at this point we talked into a brick wall, basically. So, that's all we gotta say about that. We talked about a lot in this episode, so before we wrap it up, I do want to get into these next two games for Miami, and that's going to be against Dallas and OKC. It is going to be a back-to-back for Miami, so I'm not too fond of that because these are two pretty good teams. So I want to know how y'all feel. Like I mentioned before, the injury report, the only thing is that Tyler and Kevin Love is going to be out, and obviously Jay Rich. But aside from that, I don't think I heard anyone else on there. So Patty Mills is also traveling with the team in case anyone was curious. What's y'all's expectations for the Heat? We'll start off with you, Kay.
1-1, man. I'm gonna kind of keep it funky. They can win both games, but I fully expect them to maybe lose a tight one to OKC on the second night of a back-to-back. Or they can lose a tight one to the Mavericks on the first night of a back-to-back, which will piss them off. And then they'll come out and beat OKC the next night. If it were a playoff series and I had to pick them over either of these teams, I would, honestly. But just the way the whole thing is set up, me knowing the Miami Heat in the regular season, these two teams are quality teams, Luka and Kyrie on one side, who can both absolutely get buckets. I mean, look at him, killing people. I don't like his style. If he came to the Miami Heat, he couldn't play like that because that don't facilitate ball and man moment, but he be killing cats. I mean, killing. Mm-hmm. Anyway. So him and Kyrie could definitely present a problem. And then of course you look at OKC, Chet Holmgren ball and Jalen Williams a little inconsistent for me, but I like Jay Will. He's still young. Shea, of course, Shea is Shea. And they got a couple other young guys over there that's kind of doing their thing, playing their role real well. So there's an opportunity they could beat you. They ain't sitting where they sitting in the West Conference standings for nothing. But at the same time, the Miami Heat can beat both of these teams as well. And if it were a playoff series against either of these teams in the Miami Heat, I would pick the Miami Heat just to let you know how I feel. But at the same time, with the regular season rigors and just how these things go, I'm gonna just go 1-1. I don't know which one they're gonna win, or but like I said, it could go either way.
Right. How about you, Alex?
Basically, exactly what Kay said. That's what my thought process is.
So we gotta run that up the corporate tempo, Joe. Me and Alex can't do any more shows together. No, I'm joking.
Yeah, if this was a debate show,
we got no juice out of this one. Throw it away. We have nothing to put on Twitter. Like I'm
gonna channel my inner George. They're gonna lose both games. We're gonna look terrible. Trade everybody.
I was just about to say, if I do an accent, is that anyway? Go ahead. Keep my bad. Let's go ahead.
You good? But nah, man. I see him going 1-1. Like Kay said, not sure which one it's gonna be, but obviously, if I feel like if they lose tomorrow, then they're gonna win at OKC. But if they win tomorrow, then they're gonna lose to OKC. Like that's just how this team is wired. Like that's just how they've been all season.
But just for let's put the swear band up again. If it were a playoff series against either of these teams, would you pick the Heat in both series?
Heat in 5.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
That's
so. It's just one of those things, man. And that may be something that we can discuss at some point. And I just say that because it could be 20 minutes worth of talk, but we're never going to come up with an answer. Why are the Miami Heat like that? Why are they like this, bro?
Man.
But we go as Jimmy goes, and that's how Jimmy is. Unless it's the playoffs.
Bro. I'm not gonna even before the Jimmy era, though, there was a lot of that to them. And it's tactile. And I would say so tactile and tangible that we can touch it. Like we both know exactly what we look. Now, I will give you this. Jimmy not helping. But it's like, okay, they'll come out and play the Pistons and the ending score will be 106-103, right? And then they'll come out and wire to wire the Pelicans and then let the Pelicans make a run at the end of the game and still win by 8. And right now the Pelicans are a much better team. I'm just saying some stuff like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, why are they like that, bro? And that's just some Miami Heat stuff. Of course, when the playoffs roll around, we expect them to be good, and which they typically have more than they haven't, especially considering relative how old they are to the league. But it's just crazy. I'm sorry to cut you off, Alex. You just make some good points, man. We can't be on more shows together, Joe. Just to note that.
I mean, listen, man, I'll say this, bro. I also kind of expect the Heat to go 1-1 because I do gotta ask a quick question. How has Jimmy been with back-to-backs? Is he? I'm low-key forgetting. Like, does he still play back-to-backs like that, or has he been doing the usual thing where he sits one game but plays the other? Because
earlier this year he would sit one, like he would pick one. Like,
right.
Okay, he might not play in the first game, but he's gonna play in the second game, or he'll play the first game but not play in the second game. But I think since if as Heat fans we know that Jimmy Butler calendar, and we're in the Jim VP part of the calendar, I think he's gonna play in both.
Okay. So I just want to know, because if Jimmy's gonna miss a game, that might probably be the game that we'll lose. But hey, if there's a Jimmy, there's a way. So don't be surprised.
But see, even to that point, Joe, no, you can't say that either, Joe, because this Miami Heat team also has a thing where the more people they're down, the more inspired they tend to play. I mean,
that's true.
Let's be fair.
I mean, that is true. We saw that, especially those games against Philly and Milwaukee. So, we definitely got to acknowledge that. Overall, the Heat is just a weird team in the regular season. We know this by now. If anything, I mean, to me, OKC is the tougher team in this 2-game matchup. If anything, we'll find a way to lose to Dallas and beat OKC, because that's kind of the Heat logic in the regular season. Finding a way to, some way, somehow lose to lesser teams, but still beat the superior teams. The logic is all over the place, but that's how this squad is. They're a weird regular season team. But overall, man, I feel like we talked on a lot of topics today. Is there anything I want to say before we wrap it up? I'm going to take
I was trying to do a little... Oh, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was going to say I'm going to take the silence as a no, but you had something you want to say, Ken?
Oh, no. Yeah, I was trying to do a little quick research on the back-to-back situation. So if you look at it, I do have one back-to-back here. It looks like December 13th and December 14th. The Hornets and the Bulls. Let's see. That's the one where he did play both. On the first leg of that back-to-back, of course, the Hornets, he went 15, 10, and 7. Now, did we win that game? Yes, beat the Hornets by 9. And then on the second night of that back-to-back, he went 20, 7, and 6, and lost that game by 8. Now, that frightens me a bit, because what it does is it does harken you back to the Jimmy-isms. Is Jimmy going to come out and try to be triple-double distributor Jimmy in that first game to try to, and when he does that, he's trying to conserve a little energy. Like, it might be throughout a game, or in this situation, because of his back-to-backs, he might be trying to get the first win with as least energy expended as possible. That does bother you a little bit, but you know what? I think he'll play in both games. To somebody's point, it was either Alex or Joel's when I was just trying to do a little research. Where you said, he's in playoff Jimmy mode. It's that time of the year. So I definitely think he'll play in both. I will be concerned about if he'll, who was it recently where he just went, he was full on Jimmy. Was that New Orleans recently where he was full on Jimmy Butler for the whole game?
Well, he was ejected.
Until he got ejected.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
He told him y'all lucky because y'all was about to get it. So
exactly. So I mean, when he feeling like that, we probably won't get that until the OKC game, but that's my only thing. We're gonna get, a diet Jimmy against the Mavericks.
All right, man. I'll take diet Jimmy any day too. So,
hey, yo, that was crazy. I thought about it after I said it, but after you repeated it, I definitely had to stop you. Hey, let's not say that no more. But like, what I'm saying, like a very scaled back version of Jimmy Butler, because that was crazy. Hey, yo.
Aside from that, man, that's our cue for us to go, bro. So aside from that, man, thank y'all so much for tuning into today's episode, bro. Make sure to follow all of us on Twitter, Alex at _CoachLewis1, K at K_Seta_K, and me on Twitter at JoelKJacob_. Make sure to follow Heat vs. World on all platforms at HVTW Podcast. Make sure to like, comment, and
This break.
Yup, and make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel. We got Biscayne Breakdown heading y'all way real soon. And we also got all types of content coming out real soon. You know, Dolphin stuff might be picking up. And then also, I also got something for our Florida Panthers fans real soon. But I can't comment on that just yet until we pull a few more strings. So be on the lookout for that. And aside from that, man, we're going to have a fun year because, like I said, bro, it's been in my name this whole time. He going to find a way to win a championship this year. So let's sit back, enjoy the ride, and, bro, we're going to get it done this year, like Jimmy said. So aside from that, thank y'all for tuning in. And like KB said on the Biscayne Breakdown, make sure to check out the episode when that drops real soon. Thank you for lending your ears to this sound. This ain't the Biscayne Breakdown, but I'm going to hit the music anyways. Hit the music.
Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time with a brand new episode of the Heat vs. the World Podcast.